Only Jordan can see the camera, and I'm just going in blind.
You don't know. You just start talking. You're like looking into the abyss.
I'm like, are we good to go? Because I can't see anything. Hi guys.
Oh, hi.
Welcome back to another episode of Sometimes Ciabatta Slaps. I'm Mak.
I'm Jubes.
And today's episode we have a very special guest.
Yay!
So to introduce our guest today, he is the founder of the Mental Wealth Campaign. He's a public speaker, yoga teacher, co-host of the Multiverse podcast, professional butter chicken chef, life of the party, the one, the only, the guru, Vick Maan.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for
The
coming.
type of curry you can use to bribe a jury.
The jury.
Yeah.
Okay.
I bribe all the juries with my curry.
That's true.
Yeah, so we may do butter chicken on Saturday while I'm still down.
Okay.
So you're invited. 50-50
Sounds like
if it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Undecided on
Fair enough.
Yeah.
if the butter chicken wants to butter or not.
Yeah. That's how it goes. Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. No, that'd be awesome. I've heard rave reviews about your butter chicken.
Yeah, more so than my mental health work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, he's known for his mental health, but the butter chicken
Yeah.
is like...
Actually, you know, when you start off as like an entrepreneur, you have all those ideas. And I was actually going to start a food truck called Curry in a Hurry.
Oh, nice.
And then just on Christmas, I was in BC and we were watching, there was like somebody was watching the news in the background and they were interviewing some guy's catering company and it was called Curry in a Hurry and he lives in Calgary.
Oh, no.
And I was like, shit. I missed the boat on that one. But then I thought about it after. I thought like I was like a genius at first, but I'm like, that's not so hard. There's probably so many people out there that call it that. So,
Yeah.
you know, I let that dream die.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
It's okay to let those entrepreneurial dreams die.
Yeah.
So
You can always
others
come
can-
back to it one day, too.
Yeah, now I just cook for the people
Yeah.
to feed my soul
Yeah.
Oh,
and
yes.
their bellies.
Exactly.
Perfect.
So our general theme of today's discussion will just be on Vic, who he is, what he does, his journey. And-
You're my journey.
Yeah, I guess so.
We're marrying him off today.
Sorry, Bryce.
Yeah. It's an Indian thing.
It's an arrangement.
It just has been arranged.
Our parents got together.
Yeah.
This is the first time we met.
Oh my gosh. But no, and then like what mental health modalities work for you and what haven't, and yeah, struggles and whatnot. So
Sure.
to start off, you want to start with the who, what, where, when, whys of
Yeah.
Vick Maan?
Well, first, thanks for having me. Yeah, I remember when you guys started this podcast, I was so happy, especially seeing young enthusiasts coming into this and studying psychology yourself and then kind of coming in here. So I've been very proud watching from afar.
Oh, thank you so
from,
much.
From my phone.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
So I am a mental health coach, group facilitator. I also do some public speaking, and I teach yoga as a passion of mine. So that all kind of ties in together. When you're listing off everything, it's like these are the titles and the labels, but I'm just Vic.
Yeah.
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 Fair enough.
Our buddy Vic, who's very well equipped in the mental health realm.
Equipped, but equipped in a way that I wouldn't have. I won't suggest that everybody take that route to get equipped. You know, trial by fire sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to touch on some of the
Sure.
past experiences with it?
Yeah, so I started the mental wealth campaign in Okotoks, actually. So I'm out here visiting for a couple of weeks, and I came for a wedding, but primarily I wanted to come back because I wanted to kind of get back in touch with my roots of why I started the mental wealth campaign, which in its essence was I started so that I could help empower others take action on bettering their mental health. So, but the story starts when I was quite young. So I grew up in Abbotsford, British Columbia. We have all the berry farms, the Abbotsford International Air Show, but we also had an influx of gang activity that kind of flooded the lower mainland because we're so close to the port. So obviously they're bringing the drugs in, we get easy access, and it starts to create all these pockets of gangs.
Yeah.
At that time, I was heavily influenced to join one myself. more or less it was, I don't like to call it a gang, but people misinterpreted it when I talk about a brotherhood, because that's what it was. There wasn't very many of us. So while I was in that lifestyle, it was a huge shock to my mental health. Prior to that, I was the class clown. So 15, 16, I was the class clown. You and some of our other friends and that group of friends that we have call me Ducky, because that's the kind of energy. It's like, I'm like quack quack. Like I'm just here for everybody's entertainment kind of thing, right?
For the first 10 years of like knowing you, I never knew your actual name. I just knew you as Ducky.
And it is odd when you guys call me Vic. And then working within the community of Okotoks, they call me Vic. And then you're all calling me Ducky. And then you could meet somebody and you guys would be talking about the same person, but not even know it. So they're thinking there's two of me running around doing the same thing. It's like, this guy's got some competition.
Is that this Ducky dude?
Yeah. And then so high school is like, I'm the class clown. There were things in my life that I wouldn't even say affected me, like growing up in poverty, parents got divorced, we struggled for a while, but I still always was very optimistic and was always making friends and went to all these different elementary schools. We moved around a lot, and I was very quick at making friends, first and foremost. So that's what I loved. I loved that aspect of making friends, being a part of that community in high school, exploring all the arts. I was the kind of guy who was friends with the jocks, with everybody that was in theater. I really didn't have any kind of preference, right? So I don't believe in any hierarchy. I don't believe in cliques or groups. I believe in people as people. So I always had that kind of fundamental belief. Parents have good morals and good values. My grandfather was a chief of police in India. My grandmother comes from a lineage of doctors. My dad was a very honest and hardworking individual himself. Same with my mother. So when I went into that gang life, that culture, it was not only a shock to my entire system, mentally, physically, emotionally, it was a shock to them as well. So transitioning in from being this happy-go-lucky kid to go into that gang life scenario was a shock that I wouldn't understand till years later. So in that lifestyle, you talk about, being in fight or flight. I didn't know what my body was doing. So I'm just unaware. You could talk to me about being in fight or flight, but I couldn't discern what was fight, what was flight. Just kind of a huge ball of anxiety. So when I was in that, when I got deeply involved within it, I moved out of my house, moved in with the two other individuals that were in this brotherhood, and I started to I didn't know how to describe what was going on inside of me emotionally, so I went to the doctor and I asked, like, can you just prescribe me some Prozac? That's all I knew at that time. That was my limited knowledge on mental health. So I'm like, can you give me some Prozac? And at that time, it was a very quick, brief interview. I was like, sure, I'll give you some Prozac. I'm like 18. So I'm like, sure. And then I go back to him again. I'm like, this isn't really working. And what can we do? He's like, you can double the dose. I'm like, sure, let's double the dose. And then that's not working. And for me at that time, I'm just like, can we expedite this whole process? I want to feel again, because I have this big void inside of me. Like, I didn't know what I wanted to do in life. I never went to college. I didn't know how the hell did I even end up here? So like, I'm so numb, and I'm just like, okay, what can we do now? Let's triple the dose. So cycled between 6 different antidepressants, and was smoking a ridiculous amount of weed. And you paired that with that type of a lifestyle. So always, I had a bulletproof vest. I had a gun. I was sleeping in places that were like safe for us, because our extracurricular activities were not, they weren't mental health friendly. So through all of that, when someone who I consider my brother was murdered, I went into this very very like this this abyss. Like I wouldn't even say I was angry. I just couldn't feel. I didn't know what to do. I was like acting angry because I'm like, this is what you should feel, right?
Yeah.
I'll just do that.
Yeah.
So I was like playing a character while this is all going on. I'm like, I don't even know what to do, how to feel. So when that happened, when he was murdered, I remember my mom feeling like so afraid for me because at that time I'm like, do we get revenge? Am I gonna get murdered?
Right.
So then now I'm sleeping with a AK under my bed.
Yeah.
Now I'm not knowing like what am I gonna do with myself, and I'm worried about my family. I'm like, did I get to like what the hell? Everything just hit me like a ton of bricks, right?
Yeah.
The reality of it all. So then my mom uprooted our entire family to move to India. So my brother, my sister, my entire family. She just sells the house, takes my brothers and my sisters out of school. She moves us all to India so that I could feel safe, that I could just kind of, this is an older movie, but maybe this is from my generation, like how Stella got her groove back.
Yeah.
It's like, well, she had to go on a vacation or trip, so but I did not get my groove back. I was like, I went out there. She took us all out there, and I am in this kind of numb void emotionally. But then something did happen. There was like a glimmer of hope while I was out there, and it came in the form of a yoga book that I picked up in the market.
Oh, okay.
So I picked up this very basic yoga manual. It was kind of like very simple, easy to read. And I took that manual. It was like my little Bible, my yoga Bible, and I would practice these yoga tools on myself, but also my brother and my sister. So I was like their little drill sergeant. I'm like, you guys are come here.
You're my test subjects.
You are my test subjects. I need to figure this out. But at that moment, I do remember, when I was going to the doctor for the antidepressants, and when everything had happened after the murder, after that whole kind of like, not just the death of him, but the death of what I could have become. The death of that old identity. So as I'm in that space, it was kind of like this glimmer of hope, because for the first time in a long time that I could have remembered, like I felt like I could have some sort of, I took some authority over my own mental health. I felt like I can actually heal. I'm not what I thought I was, because prior to that I would be doing the endless Google searches. I'm clinically depressed. I'm bipolar. Maybe I'm schizophrenic, and the list goes on. Because if you don't know, you're just kind of like trying to grasp onto something to make sense of this entire situation.
Yeah.
So I was grasping on everything I possibly could, and what the doctors were saying, and long story short, I felt like, you know what, I might have a say in all of this in my mind. So I moved back after about 6-8 months. Everybody just misses Canada. I was born in, I'm Canadian. I was born in Canada. Family roots are in India. Like I love India, but we all moved back. I got a job working at it was a flour mill, Anita's Grain and Flour. If you guys have ever gotten some of their flowers, shout out to them. I love them.
Yeah.
It's just always fond memories working there.
And that's back in Abbotsford area.
They're in Chilliwack.
Chilliwack, okay.
Yeah. So I was living in Abbey, driving out to Chilliwack. So I was like, all right, I'm out the game, so to speak. So we can start on with my life again, working there. But the funny thing about emotional wounds and trauma is that you just don't know how deep it buries within you. This was like within like bone marrow deep. I didn't realize, because after all of that, I'm like still smoking just like a crap ton of weed. I'm going to work every day, and then all of a sudden I have this psychotic break. So I have this psychotic break, the accumulation of antidepressants, the inability to manage, deal with the emotionally turbulent past 5 years, came to this beautiful explosion, right? Where I was like an emotional Hulk, wandering around town without my shoes on, mad at the world, mad at the government. Why are you bringing the drugs in? What's going on with the culture? Yada yada. I was just so angry.
Yeah.
And then I had to get a police escort to go to the psych ward. So I go there, so afraid. I don't know what's going on. They are. My mom's there, she's like crying, and then all I remember is they take me to a room and I'm like so afraid for my life because I don't know what's going on, and I actually grabbed a pen and I was gonna stab the nurse in the neck because I didn't know where I was. But so they restrained me, they laid me on a table, they strapped up my legs and my hands, and they injected me with something, and then I woke up and I was in the psych ward for a month. And when I was in the psych ward, I had lost my sense of self. Whatever social credibility I had with my peers was gone. Because at that time, this was 16 years ago.
So like early 20s then?
Early 2005, 7 range. And then so I had lost all hope in myself. I had labeled myself. Friends, family had labeled me because, you know, mental health is in its infancy. They're not sure what to think, you know, and more or less sometimes people don't want to associate with somebody who is crazy. That they deem crazy. So that was really tough. That hurt the most out of anything, was not having any connection to my friends, my family, not knowing where to begin, trying to explain myself. I remember trying to tell them, you know, that I was on hard drugs to try to make sense of it. Because I didn't want them to be like, this guy is just so crazy. He didn't, but I wasn't on hard drugs.
Well, it's tough when you yourself don't even know what's going on. You're like, I don't know how I got here. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what led up to this. Like,
especially when you're talking about 2005, 2007, right? The mental health sphere is not nearly what it is now.
It's just in a complete revert. Like it's gone a 180. Like it's like, okay, we acknowledge the mind and the body connection now, right? But back then it's all in the mind, right?
Like 2005 is much closer to like the ice pick lobotomy era of mental health versus now the whole whole more holistic approach that we take now.
That's like iPhone 1.
Yeah, exactly. Literally.
Right? That's how you look at it that way. So then, you know, trying to make sense of it, I was like telling people I was on heroin because I wanted them to just like connect with me again. And I remember it was so heartbreaking for me that to the point where I just kind of isolated myself and then kind of went back into old patterns, started connecting with some friends who were in that lifestyle because they were the only ones connecting with me. So did that for a little bit, and then inevitably I snapped again because I had not, I had a lot of trauma to harvest and bring to the light so I could actually look at it and see how I got here. And then that time though was a little bit different because I seem to have a pattern. I'll just go online and spout some crazy shit. And I'm angry at this, I'm angry at that. And then what had happened that time is they didn't take me to the psych ward. They gave me an option. They said, well, I remember the psychiatrist looking at me and my mom, you know, she felt helpless. You know, when she was taking me to the psych ward the first time, she's on her knees in the parking lot, she's praying, she's trying to figure out like, what can I do for my son? My brother's there trying to hold her down. He's like, don't worry, mom, all the greats in the world go through all this. And she's like, that's the only thing she held on to is just like, through this great struggle, he might come back to being Vicky, and that's what she calls me. And so this time they gave me an option. He says, because of the things you're saying, they're deemed as threats, so you can either do some jail time or we can administer antipsychotic injections.
Oh, wow.
So, a little bit different than the pills. So my mom said, okay, sure, right? She was afraid of jail. So, you know, being in a position where fear is used to make you make a decision on your mental, physical, emotional well-being. It is. I would not. I don't wish that upon anybody.
No.
Right? Because either way you go, you're gonna lose. Because this should not have been a fearful endeavor. So,
especially with something like an injection, it just feels so much more intense, right? Than just here's a paper cup of pills.
Well, I had to go every couple of months to get this injection done. I go and get the injection. Very shortly, a few weeks after, at least, before I had the little like bumps of inspiration, I got a yoga book. Yo, yay! Or like, maybe, I have some friends again, even if they're all still, drug dealers and they're crooks and they're criminals. Yay, I got connection. But this time with the injection, it's like a flat line.
Right.
There is like people who have been in the abyss, like they know it's not about sadness. It's not even about madness. It's just like you're in nothing.
Yeah.
You are in nothingness. It feels so. You would wish to feel angry. You want to wish to feel depressed.
Yeah.
You want to wish to feel.
Yeah.
Like it's anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just numb.
You're as completely numb as numb can be.
Yeah.
And then so that I'm flatline, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically. With the injection, I quickly ballooned to like 300 pounds. My body started to go through these weird changes, like it's weird funk all over me. Like it wasn't pleasant at all. And that was when I started to think, well, I need to get out of this. I just need to get out of this life. So my mom had a blueberry farm, and I was living in the attic. And for about a year, all I did was I'd eat in the morning, and then I'd go up into the room and I'd have the TV playing in the background, and I would just lay there and count the hours till I could go to sleep. Right? I'd try to go to bed at 5. Eyes are closed. I'm just laying there.
Yeah.
And then that was for about a year, and then I was formulating, okay, I want to follow through with this suicide. So I started to kind of conceptualize how I was going to do it. I went and I bought a rope. I went and I wrote a note to my mom because I wanted to make sure that she knew it had nothing to do with her. Like, I wanted to make sure that they didn't take any kind of responsibility of this. So it was odd because for the first time in so long, just even planning and prepping the suicide felt like the most action I had taken in my life.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, it was almost like it gave you purpose, right?
It gave me purpose.
It was something to focus on instead of just feeling numb. You were like, this is something I'm doing.
This is something I'm doing.
Yeah.
So like an escape. There's so many ways you could look at it, but for me, it's just like, it oddly enough, it felt productive. Like, at least I'm doing something. I'm not doing the same thing I'm doing every day. So even a little bit of change felt like something.
Yeah.
So obviously I didn't go through with it because I remember at this point I was walking in the blueberry fields, and for so long I'm like, it's gonna happen, just keep your eyes down, keep your head down, try not to connect too much with your family. It's only gonna, you want to just kind of exit quietly. At that time, I remember walking through the berry fields, and I remember something had overcome me because I guess the feeling of going through it that had overtaken me. And I actually went down to my knees and I kind of threw my arms up, and I was very much humbled, and I just kind of like, I cried a little bit, but I kind of like it was like this internal shout. Like I wasn't screaming outside, and I was just like, anybody, anything, like anybody out there, any of the gods, which god, like someone, please, like just anything. And I know now, after years of reflection, that it was through that humbling to get over the fear of it all, to humble myself to what had actually happened, that within that moment, it felt like I was able to process so much. Because, when my brother was murdered, and I always call him my brother, it was like, I didn't even cry at his funeral. I was trying to hide from all the detectives, trying to nab me and like take me in for questioning. And so not being able to express any emotion that came out, and then I'm in this space of like humbling. I'm very kind of, I feel lighter, and then quickly after that, the series of events started to turn very good. So here's where we turn the page here. Turn that chapter. So then very quickly after that, I'm going online and I'm Googling things, not doing the self analysis and getting the analysis paralysis. I'm actually doing the things I'm researching. So like saltwater flushes, yoga, meditation, journaling. I remember putting up a little piece of paper that was like, had like just the 3 things I wanted to focus on, which was like family, purpose, and money. And I wrote that down and with little dollar signs, and I just put that up. And by then I'd moved out of my mom's attic into the trailer on the blueberry farm.
Okay.
So I would look at that paper every morning, and I felt like, okay, you can do this. It's like a system refresh, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. I'm like, it's a new me.
Yeah.
Right. So then I started to, I within a year, I lost all that weight. I got a job working at a fertilizer plant. I was like one of Snow White's doors. I was so happy. Hi ho. I'm just like off to work. It was just, it was great. I didn't have a phone. I didn't have friends. I didn't have a girlfriend. But for the first time, what had haunted me before in the past of not having the connection, the curse became a blessing, because now I'm just like, all right, what the fuck does Vick want to do?
Yeah.
You know, you'd followed the gangsters, you'd followed all your friends, you'd always try to make friends, but what do I want to do?
Yeah.
So I started writing poetry. I stared kind of, there wasn't really one tool. I fell in love with wanting to just journey into all of this, because it wasn't going online and kind of looking at what could work and almost putting that on the shelf as a to-do list. No, it was like I'd read something right away, I'd try it.
Yeah.
Right? Aromatherapy. I bought candles. This was like 15 years ago. I was like, coconut oil can help? Okay. I was like, I remember everybody's like, you're weird. What do you got all this coconut oil? Yeah. I'm like, you'll see. You'll see. One day you'll all see. Yeah. One day you'll all see. You'll all be using it. I started to work on my diet. I started to really, a lot of people say it's a lifestyle thing. It is. It 100% is.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you feel like you've gone through, I always want people to have hope. Yeah. And no matter what their circumstances were, because I've been through the ringer.
Yeah.
And I remember a buddy of mine who I grew up with in that gang lifestyle. He calls me. He's like, hey, everything's going well. I haven't heard from him in a while. He's like, hey man, you want to move out to Okotoks? My buddy has a stucco company and they make a lot of money. I'm like, sure. I put dollar signs on my little inspirational paper. Yeah. I'm like, this could be it. Yeah. And I get out here and I move out here and I work stucco for a month. I'm like, that's not it.
Fair.
Yeah. It's, props to all the stucco peeps out there. Like, it's not for me. But then I lived behind the fort in Okotoks and I was like, I liked how everybody was dressing up. So I'm like 29 at this point. I'm like, all right, man, you have no schooling, no background, no nothing, but just walk in there and just like dress up and just ask for a job. So I walk in there and I asked the secretary, I'm like, is one of the managers here? And she's like, yeah, he's in the back, but he's not taking anybody. I can give him your resume. I'm like, no, don't worry about it. I want to give it to him. I'll just wait out here and I want to just give him my resume in person. Yeah. I gave Ken my resume. I made up some stuff about previous experience. Yep. And he just liked that I came in and took the time to wait. So they gave me a chance. Within that, with the love of the community, I sold the most cars in 3 months. Had never sold cars before, and they said that was unheard of because it takes you 2 years to build a referral base. Yeah. But they don't know Okotoks. Yeah. Right? So then I did all the beautiful people in Okotoks, and I just fell in love. I fell in love with the whole community. Yeah. So then I got, from my sales experience there, I got poached to become a general sales manager in Calgary. Became a general sales manager for a startup company out there. At one point I had 40 sales staff in 4 cities, got all this experience, but then that yoga came back and I was just like, you know what, man, the whole goal wasn't it just to kind of, because I'd always tell people about yoga, right? I'd never talked about mental health. Nobody knew my story in Okotoks. Yeah. They just like, who's this bubbly fucking Indian guy?
This bubbly Indian guy from BC.
Yeah, it's just So then I left that corporate gig because it was kind of like daunting. It was kind of sucking my soul, like Wolf of Wall Street. I did that. I was just training so many sales staff. I'm like, where am I, man? This is not where I want to be. Yeah. So then I left that, got trained, certified as a yoga teacher. Grew up my hair, put on some flip flops, and then started my coaching practice because I had the sales background. So I helped my friends who were wellness entrepreneurs. So knowing, because I really believed in them. So I'm like, but you didn't have the training that I did. So I want to help you with that. Yeah. So I started my coaching practice, started to organize festivals for the community, wellness festivals. started to go into like open mics, even orchestrated a women's business networking group because I just love community. I just wanted to connect. If I had this talent to do it, like there was no like end goal. I'm like, let's just connect. Right. I see the power in connection and community. Something that I didn't have that I was always searching for. Right now that I had a bit, I want it all.
Taste like this is it. This is the community.
Yeah, this is it. And then so doing the coaching and everything, and then all of a sudden, like I had never told anybody my story. So that's where I really want to be able to tell those that are in the mental health game, you know, whether they're just wanting to make a difference, an impact, a change. You don't necessarily have to identify with what had happened to you to make a change. Right? You don't need to be, you don't need to take on that personality where it's like, I'm a victim. This is my personality. I was connecting with others and they did not know my story because inside I knew what I wanted to do. I didn't necessarily have to tell them the origin story. And so, but when my coaching practice quickly evolved from sales coaching, business coaching to life coaching, and then the mental health kind of came into my mind. So that's when that was born, and that was when it was just like all the past came flooding back, and stuff that, you know, now that I'm in my like this new life, I felt a deep sense of responsibility, and so I started to organize mental health empowerment groups that were facilitated by traditional and non-traditional mental health professionals. So like somatic therapists, counselors, meditation teachers. So we would co-facilitate these mental health empowerment groups, similar to a peer empowerment group, but very much empowerment focused. As yes, we're going to share. That's one part of this equation. It's an equal part, but then what are we going to do? How are we going to take action? And through community, we'll be able to hold each other accountable. We'll be inspired by each other doing this together. Kind of like when you're going on a fitness journey. Like this is it's the same in that same token. We're just doing we're doing a mental health journey. Right. So that worked really well. We had within the community support, we had about 40 events pop in within each month, and that's when COVID came, and that's when I was starting to get into more public speaking about mental health. I was supposed to go to Pepsi, do some their head office in Calgary, go to some schools. That came, and then you think you battled all the demons, fucking.
Bone marrow deep.
Marrow deep.
The extractions.
Very
painful.
Yeah, because I think when I had I look at it as like a spiritual psychosis. So I know madness, I know sadness. Like I got a PhD in that shit because I lived there, and this time I went in again, and I went hard because that mixed with the COVID culture that was going around and that energy that you were, because we mirror each other's nervous systems.
Well, the world was heavy.
The world is heavy as fuck. Like, can you imagine? Like, okay, so if on just like on a regular everyday level, we mirror each other's nervous system. So you can notice that if you're around a lot of people who are very calm, it's just calming to be around them because our nervous systems are mirroring one another. That's why when you yawn, I yawn, because yawning is one of the most effective and fastest ways to get into a parasympathetic state, which is very calming and relaxing. So that being said, everybody's running around like chickens with their head cut off. I'm like, I'll fucking show you.
We're playing chicken.
I'll be headmaster chicken with his head cut off. So then, because like I was overworked too. You get into this work and you're so passionate about what you're doing as an entrepreneur. It's 24/7, 365. You're thinking about it. You're talking about it. You're conceptualizing. I'd go to my office. I'd work on my computer. My coaching practice started to dwindle because I wasn't taking clients and I wasn't even thinking about it because I got so consumed with the work. And it was a nonprofit. It was like a no profit. Right? Because at that time it was a bit of like, okay, I have this theory and this idea of what could work and be effective and efficient. Right? That's where I'm at right now. Okay, we're not iPhone 1 with mental health. Like let's upgrade and let's make this efficient. Right? So I always was working on that aspect of it. Like, how can we grow, taking my own experience, what I've learned from others and what I've studied. And so when COVID came, I went, some people would say manic, spiritual psychosis, but I look at it as a way, it's like a big purge for me. It's like, because at that time, overworked 7 days a week. I had like my bat phone, like anybody's calling me, like I'm picking up, I'm going to see them. People that were suicidal, people that were, had some kind of addiction that they were dealing with, people with their children. Because once I told my story, when you tell your story comes great responsibility, because now you are relating to those and they look at you as somebody that they can speak with to help make sense of their situation. So then that floodgate was open. I crash, I get mad, I get angry, everything's shutting down. I can't host any mental health groups anymore. I can't do anything. So I go buck wild again, and then I get on I got some friends help me get on a flight to go back to BC. And this was my last time in the psych ward. This was the last time in the psych ward. I remember I was only in there for one night. Why? Because everybody has their COVID story, but mine is I was in a psych ward during the height of COVID when everything just shut down. And the tension was so thick in the hospital.
Oh my goodness.
You couldn't differentiate between the patients and the doctors.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Like the energy, the composure. It was just all hell had broken loose.
Well, especially going back to BC, the more heavily populated and stuff too, right? When it got hit a bit harder at that time. But yeah, no doubt.
And then I'm like, okay. And then the funny thing is, so I go in there for one night. And here's something about forgiveness, about something that ties into like my general philosophy with mental health. Because I believe in a traditional and a non-traditional approach. I believe in experimentation so that you can come and have your own experience. And with your own experience, that's your truth. And when you get your truth, that then becomes your own mental wellness recipe. That is the way, that is the only way. It cannot be sold. You cannot manufacture and sell a program to somebody because it is not individualized for that person's unique needs. So I always was angry at the system, the medical system a bit, because of where it was, how I was treated, and that antipsychotic injection. The person that administered that antipsychotic injection was the person that did my intake when I went into the psych ward.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, he called me Vicky too. I didn't like that. I'm like, only my mom calls me Vicky.
That's fair.
And I'm like, bro, I'm like,
no, sorry, you do not get to call me that.
But at that moment, he looks at me. And I'm like knee deep in madness. I'm like sitting there, but I'm like, it's weird because like I had my composure. I'm in and out of my composure. And then he's looking at me. He's like, "Hey, Vicky, you remember me?" And I'm like, "I do." And I wasn't angry. I wasn't anything. And I just was like, "I get it, man. I get it." I'm like, you don't know what you're doing.
No,
you didn't know what you were doing at that time. You don't. What I know now before going in, I'm like, it's quickly evolved. So it's like for me to just hold on to that anger and that resentment, which boiled up inside of me and contributed to this madness. I was like, it's time to let this go because the work that I was doing meant more to me than trying to get some kind of revenge. I remember when I started Mental Wealth Campaign, I didn't tell a lot of people this. I'm like, I'm going to fucking blow this up so big. I'm going to fucking I'm going to take their shit down. But like I was young and I was like, my message hadn't matured. So after all that, I get out, I move all the mental health groups online, go through a little bit of a down period again, like, okay, I'm fucking starting from scratch again. I said a lot of crazy shit. I ran through the town without my shoes on. I was going Hulk, and everybody's like, I'm thinking like, fucking everybody just probably hates me, and like, who's this asshole? And
it's not even that, because I just remember at the time, like, I just was like, suddenly you were just gone. It was like, poof, you're ghosted out. And then it was our mutual friend that's like, oh no, he went back home, XYZ. I was like, oh shoot, like I just felt for you, right? Like knowing like the brief history of it, but even then, like I barely knew that. But on the inside, I'm, it's very difficult for people that are kind of like in emotional prison. So for me, I'm like, I'm done. Like I can't do my work again. I can't go back to Okotoks. So I exiled myself. That's my pattern. But luckily for me, I had done it so many times that I didn't exile for that long, because then I quickly, after about 4 months, I got off social media. I got off everything. I just connected with myself again. And then I started to do the mental wealth groups online. So we moved it online.
And then quickly after that, everything started opening up. I started to teach again, fell in love with teaching yoga again. My mental health coaching practice never stopped because of the referrals, which is the beautiful thing about Okotoks. And so that was there, but then also I got a contract to work with the government. So I started to do mental health. As of last year, started to do those mental health groups, those mental health empowerment groups with correctional guards. And so that was very, beautiful for me to kind of come into this space and kind of get almost like that was my diploma.
Yeah.
Was through the work that I did through the no-profit enterprise and through all that work, and then have it be something that they want to push across all the other BC jails. It made me feel like everything, sometimes maybe as redundant as this sounds, as people have said it happens for a reason.
Yeah.
Right? So then that's kind of where I'm at now, because that's why, when you ask me to do this, obviously we're family, right? Or, anybody that's family with my family, we're family. So I'm like, of course, let's chit chat about this, because for me, I was like, okay, what am I going to do? Like, cause you talked about the tools before. We're like, yeah, maybe we can talk about the tools that work and that don't work.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like, you know what? I always shied away from trying to be a yoga salesman or like trying to sell some neuroscience or trying to sell like somatic therapy, EMDR, CBT, trying to sell like nutrition, trying to sell nature even, because in all reality, with what I've seen, because the work that I've done with the youth to the elderly, anybody with a mind, right?
Yeah.
What I found is it's imperative for us to create a container of space, a sense of community for them to explore. Rather than look at we're in a crisis, we're in an opportunity. And if we can get out of that mindset that this is a crisis, we can stabilize the emotional state of a lot of individuals who get very overwhelmed when you say the word crisis. When you say you're sick all the time, when you say it's an illness, when you say that it's hereditary, and when you more often tell people all these things that make them kind of tap out and say, all right, this is it. I'm set for life. And this is who I'm going to be.
Yeah. Walls up, ears closed.
Walls up, ears closed. No. Like, I can't change. This is who I'm going to be. And that to me is very saddening. That to me, because for me, most importantly, I'm like, well, I want to spread hope.
Yeah.
Because if I've been in the psych ward like fucking more times than you've gone on trips abroad, I could do a TripAdvisor review on the freaking psych wards.
Room 204. Best views.
To be where I am now, I'm looking back at it. I'm like, well, there needs to be like, so you have the traditional community. Those are like the psychologists. Those are the ones who, and everybody has their group, their clique. So you have the psychologists clicked up with the counselors. We have all of the Western influenced traditionalists over here. Then you have the non-traditionalists, like the ones who heavily align with more of a spiritual approach. I'm not down with the extremists on either side of the fence. I'm not down with the people over here that are like, I don't want to have anything to do with medication. I don't want to have anything to do with what they've learned and what they're teaching, because that's not the way. This is the way. And I'm not down with them on this side of the fence who are just like those hippies, what are you talking about? There's no scientific studies. Well, you're the one doing all the scientific studies over here. They're not studying, they're just doing. So like there's a big disconnect between the two. And unfortunately, the problem, if you want to call it a problem, I look at it as an opportunity. But if there is, let's just chop it up and say it's these leaders over on this side of the fence and this side of the fence who have more or less put themselves in this very, very narrow outlook on what mental health is. And they're not comfortable, for the most part, saying, I don't know. They're not comfortable saying, I haven't tried it, so I won't discredit it. They're not comfortable putting the power into those individuals like us, the ones who were the guinea pigs, the ones who took the medication, the ones who's been in the psych ward, the ones who have had family and friends affected by suicide, the ones who have considered it, the ones who have lost loved ones, the ones who have lost hope, the ones who have lost inspiration of a future that could be, the ones who are now more or less walking this earth already dead on the inside. That's us. That's the people. So for them, for us in the middle, it's very important for us to have a voice and a say and try to balance this out, because there's so much good on either side of the fence. So much good. And that's why I love your guys' podcast, because you guys are talking about a wide variety of different tools, and you're passionate about it, and you're learning it, and you're trying it.
Well, that's the goal, is to close that gap a little bit, because it's not a one size fits all case with anything, right? Even my experience in nutrition, I can talk about what worked for me, and I can say everyone who has health issues, it's from your intestines, but it's not the case. Right? Because that was my case.
Hey, you guys ever watched My Big Fat Greek Wedding?
I have.
I haven't.
Okay, so you know the grandpa. Well, there's a grandpa in there, and he thinks everything's solved by Windex.
Oh, I have heard about that.
So he's like, his solution to all the problems, I'll spray a little Windex on it. So, you got indigestion? Windex. Oh, yeah, there's a stain over here, Windex. It's the same thing. It's you get so hyper-focused on what had worked for you. And to say it's like, there are many reasons why people get very hyper-focused on preaching and teaching about mental health tools and practices. One is maybe it worked for them. And that's a beautiful thing, because a part of them wants to share it with as many people as possible. Some, it's their profession. Some now, they have to be able to sell what their service is, because they have to put food on the table. On either side of the fence. Right?
Well, because it's like the big pharma versus sketchy supplement companies.
Well, it's both, like, I look at it like government and gurus. Right? So the gurus over here are no different. They want followers. Right? I'm like, no, I don't want followers. I want to walk beside you. That term is very odd to me. To have a follower. Well, you're gonna follow me till when? Right? I will lead until you stand beside me. It's very weird for me to be able to have followers, and I was very off-putting doing interviews even in the beginning when I was doing the nonprofit work, because then people's energy shifts, right? And they look at you like you're the way out, but I'm not the way out. I am here as a reference guide. I'm here to inspire, right? Because I have overcome it. I've worked with many different minds, and I know that you can. So that's it. That's what I'm going to be here for, to hold that space while you explore, and always be here for you when you go into the darkness again. You're like, I can't do it. I don't see a way out, and then I'm just here to be like, but you can.
Well, and that's where when you said the teacher mentality, right? Like, you're a teacher at your core, right? When it comes to it, you want to
teach,
support, and help, and assist, and
assist. And I don't ever want to outshine the teachings. So the teacher should not outshine the teachings. On this side, you can't. You have influencers over here because it becomes their brand. It's my brand. This is what have happened to me. Talk about them for a bit, because it's running rampant online. You'll have somebody who more or less will relate with other individuals who went through some kind of a similar mental health issue as them. We'll use antidepressants. I took antidepressants. It works so much for me, and then you have all the other people who take antidepressants, and all you're doing as that influencer is you are playing the same single key note again and again and again, and you're harping on their emotional heartstrings to influence them to follow you. So because people are following you because you are pulling out an emotional charge in them, because you are saying something that hits on a core wound or a wound that they have. And it's now they feel like it's getting healed to some degree by you speaking about it. But then that's it. So you're just going to keep that again. Let's just raise awareness. Let's just keep raising. Oh, it's fucked. Everything is fucked. And we're like, it's so bad right now. Look at these statistics. I don't look at statistics. I just get to work.
Literally.
Well, what's your alternative?
Well, exactly. And even if someone who is influencing on antidepressants, the people who are listening to them who the antidepressants aren't working for, they're then like, well, what's wrong with me? Why isn't that working? It's working for so many other people. This is the only option because it's the only one presented to me. It's the only media I'm absorbing. So what do I do? This
Yeah.
is the only option.
Yeah.
Like,
and you apply that to X, Y, and Z as well. You apply that to yoga. You apply that to meditation. You apply that to nature therapy, cold therapy, CBT, EMDR. People are so afraid to try, right? Because they don't know. People, when I do a lot of these groups, a lot of the times when we do a Q&A too, was one of the portions of the group workshop. There's a Q&A about what mental health tools and practices are you currently doing? And they'll go through the tools, and then the next question would be like, what do you perceive as your biggest obstacle from taking this medication, this medicine, this tool, this practice? And they're just like, a lot of people are afraid of what other people are going to think.
yeah, exactly.
It's at our fundamental core, because I learned this in sales, nobody wants to be the first, and nobody wants to be the last.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And people are very heavily influenced by what others are doing.
Yeah.
So if people within their closed group of friends and family aren't doing that, they have nobody to communicate that with and kind of feel a sense of this is the right way. But all you want to do is experiment.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, have you, doing this podcast, and primarily it is mental health themed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
With all the topics I've seen you guys talk about.
Yeah.
So then, right, like, what would you say in terms of all the experimentation that you've done? Would you kind of place anything above anything else?
I don't even think so. Like, I know for myself, I've been exposed to a lot of like the self-help books that we read for the book club.
Yeah.
And up until now, I've been very close to that. I'm like, no, I don't like that. And then even with some of the books we've read, I'm like, I don't like it. And then we read The Courage to Be Disliked and The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yeah.
They say essentially the same thing. I'm more open to The Courage to Be Disliked than 7 Habits.
Yeah.
So it's like, is it just presentation, or are they actually saying different things, or like what is it? So for me, it's been where I am at that time as whether or not it works for me or
Yes.
not. And so, and like there's other ones, it was, I think, Good Vibes, Good Life. I didn't like it all because it was very much just like hustle, grind set. You can't be sad about anything.
Which
Just-
could work for some people.
Yeah, but
exactly.
it doesn't for me, right?
Yeah.
So then I was like, no, that's not going to work for me.
Yeah.
Well, and for the author of that book, that's what got him out to where he is now, and that's why he wrote the book. It is the way it is, right?
Yeah.
It very much is. Like, for some it works, for others it doesn't. And for me, it's been a collection of various kind of modalities that's getting me to feeling good.
Yeah.
Because there's a disconnect for, I think, when I looked the best, right, versus when I felt the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of like mental kind of battles with that, and I'm like, would I rather feel good or look good? And I'm like, well, I'm not that vain, so I would like to feel good.
Yeah.
Well,
But-
and generally, sorry to interrupt you, but when you feel good, you then look good.
Yeah.
Because you're no longer just like feeling bad.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, well, I know so many friends that have burnt out that are CrossFitters, that are weightlifters, that because like they look good, but they don't feel good, and they have burnt out
Yeah.
mentally because it's mind, body, and then there's that emotional body.
Yeah.
Then there's emotions. There's different language to some people that they must learn.
It really is. A lot
Yeah.
of people are not emotionally mature, for lack of another word. They're just not in tune with themselves.
Yeah, well, we weren't, and we give everybody a break because we didn't learn this. And you know what? And we talk about all these tools, and I think too sometimes I'm like, you know what? My curse is now a blessing because I can imagine how hard it is to do any of this. To hear all these people's stories, all the things that worked for them. You know, it's like trying to climb a mountain and you're at the base of the mountain and you have like all these people saying, take these shoes, take this rope, take this donkey will help you get up there, take this supplement. Like, do you need more water? You go at this time. No, don't go at that time. People are giving you contradicting advice. And you're just like, just start walking.
Yeah.
Just move in a
Just
direction.
move in a direction.
Yeah.
Any movement is progress.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's like, for me, it's just like, I'm like, I get it. Had I not been like tossed against my own will into the psych ward numerous times, I wouldn't be who I am today.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have I wouldn't have put my head down and studied myself for over a decade.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't have done that, any of that. So it's like, you also have to look at everybody and say, I understand with them wholeheartedly why they haven't taken a chance on this or that.
Yeah.
Which everybody can talk about it because everybody has an abundance of information of what works. I swear to you,
Yeah.
you'll have a conversation with anybody. this works, that works. I heard this works. I heard that works. It's just like
I have a buddy who does this and it works for them.
I have a buddy I saw this on a podcast. I heard this I read this in the book.
Yeah.
We have all that information, but the missing piece is the application. Yeah. That's the group work. That's like when you do it within community, with friends, right? That's where you flip the format and it's no longer like I'm doing this because I'm ill, I'm sick. Yeah. Like, can you imagine if that's your motivating factor to do any of this? How depressing and saddening is that?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's so hard to move away because that's the only thing you're focusing on. Yeah. So you're never going to get any better if all you believe is that you're sick and that you're not doing good.
Yes.
As long as you're like, okay, no, I feel good, or I'm doing this to feel good.
Suffering is inevitable, right? So I suffer well. I suffer with class.
Yeah.
And I can really wholeheartely connect with those who are in this space of not knowing what to do because you know what? Maybe y'all just need to get tossed in the psych ward.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I joke about that sometimes, and some of my friends are like, you know what? Actually, every time you've come out, it's just like some kind of a retreat for you.
Yeah. Well, it's a reset.
It's a reset.
Like it's like you're taking you out of everything that's not helping you grow and putting you somewhere so you can just connect with yourself and then putting you back out as a better person.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to talk in psychological terms too, right? When you're in your space that you're in all the time, you have the same triggers that got you to the point where you're at.
Yeah.
Right? And oftentimes that's why rehab doesn't work for some addicts because they go back to the same place. They have the same triggers. Da-da-da-da-da. So, but it's the taking out, the reflecting, then you feel good.
Yeah.
And now it's like, what have I learned and how am I going to applicate that into my life?
Yeah. And it's like it's like this is a part of life, the journey within, right? Like
fully.
It is like we study all these different subjects, but where is the study of the self? Where is the study of you? Where is the study of your likes, your dislikes, you know, your love languages? I'm all the love languages. I want it all.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But those are good. Those are good kind of starting points to start to understand yourself, so that you can continue studying yourself. Because when you start to study the subject that is you, you have a little bit more confidence in what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right. Rather than being kind of sold and swayed on which direction to go with your mental well-being, you actually feel a sense of joy and purpose with it. So that's the group work is shown me like that's my goal now is like we'll be starting group training programs for facilitators in the fall, also with the prisons, because like I've seen what works. It's community, that connection, but this very, very I surrendered to the simplicity of it, this philosophy of being able to kind of hold that space. We gather in the groups. I will train you how to share. 5 to 8 minutes. I'll train you how to share and express your feelings. Rather than us go online and just type. This is what I'm feeling. Yeah, I feel it too. Yes, queen. Yes, me too. You got it, bitch. You got it, bitch. Fucking same, girl. Yeah. Or fucking all the boys like, you got it, king.
Yeah,
I read this shit. It's just like, you tell them, man. You fucking preach, homie. It's just like, no, just stop talking so much.
Yeah.
Right? So like, we train you how to be able to intelligently diffuse and express, because that takes training. That's done a week by week, just like you would in like going to the gym. Like you have, let's say you're emotionally weak, like it's a muscle that you want to develop. Well, let's practice week by week.
Yeah.
You very quickly start to understand how to, like with the share, it's like as a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's a story. Every share is a story, but more often than not, these stories that we tell online just never end.
Yeah.
Right? And where's the closure? How do we begin and how do we close, and then what do we do next? So you've got a lot of the talking that's going on, but people not knowing what to do after they're emotionally charged. Because when you share, you get stress comes to you externally and internally, right? Externally are 5 senses, internally are thoughts, which then turn into our emotions, and now our emotions are triggering the stress. So now, good job, you've stressed yourself out. What are you gonna do? Right? Like, so you're in the group, we'll train you how to share. Then we go around, so you get a sense of community to see that, by comparison, I'm not alone in any of this. And it makes you feel human again.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you imagine sitting with people, even if I've shared my story, now you're like, I see him as a human.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're like, okay, it's like, he's more than just hilarious jokes about butter chicken.
Exactly.
Right? Like, he's human, and everybody else is seeing the human in each other and themselves. So it's very humanizing. So the humanity in it. And then, I have a master list of traditional, non-traditional tools. We take a look at them, lightly go over them, and then off you go.
Yeah.
And then we'll touch base next week until you gain enough confidence where you can do what I did. And you can use therapists and psychologists and yoga teachers and gurus as consultants. And you can consult with them and you can meet them 50-50 rather than feeling like you are going to them and they have the answers for you. Because a lot of them are, and this is one thing I always wanted to do, is I wanted to mature my message. So I kind of sat back and probably for a few years so it could mature, so it didn't have any, so I could remove a considerable amount of anger from it, and also tone down, some may sound weird, but the charisma of the message that I'm wanting to share. Because I knew I could have done it in so many different ways. I could have influenced people. I don't like that word, influence. I want to inspire. Right? Like, I could have done it in so many different ways where I promise I could have if I would just went like, this is where I was in 4 psych wards. Fuck, don't worry about it. I have a formula for you. And this is my formula. And people will be like, because I've been public speaking for some time, like, this guy's good with his words. And his story, if he went through that, fuck it. And it's going to cost them so much time when they realize it's not going to work for them because they didn't take the initiative, or they didn't feel empowered enough to do it themselves.
Well, it's not the same degree of intrinsic motivation to work on themselves, right? They're like, kind of like, oh, I should. Everyone tells me I should, so I'll do this. But it's not like at your core, you're not living it, breathing it, experiencing it to your soul.
I always tell people all roads lead to Rome. That's one of my favorite quotes, because it really just it shows people it's like, you can do this in your own way. And there's more than one way. And to find your way, it's going to take experimentation. How do you find out what your hobby is?
Exactly.
If you've never been a dancer before, and you're like, I love dancing, and you just start talking about dancing and you've never danced before, it's like, how ridiculous does that sound?
Exactly. And I feel like that's kind of why we chose like holism for our podcast, is because we wanted to focus on like everything. Like, there's more than one way to do something, and like, yes, we might not know everything, which is why we have guests on and why we do so much research for it, is so that we are showing everyone every option in a sense. So it's not just like, this is what worked for us, so this is what's going to work for you. It's like, these are the options. What do you feel will work for you? Try it. If it doesn't work, fine.
And I hope to also this message to reach coaches, mental health coaches, psychiatrists, therapists, yoga teachers, everybody, people that have lived experience, and to let them know that if we can share this general philosophy that is is a very open philosophy where it isn't selling, it's empowering, and we can present the buffet of tools, but by no means can we go like Wolf of Wall Street and try to sell that tool or that practice as the end all be all.
Would you consider hosting like a professional development kind of seminar for teachers of all?
That's what I'll be doing with the mental wealth facilitator training program.
Perfect.
Because the facilitator training program is because I've done so much different type of group work. This is for mental health coaches, spiritual practitioners, psychiatrists, therapists, people that are getting into their first year, second year, people that kind of want to update what they're doing, that are on either side of the fence, where I can show them what has very much worked for me with whether you work for the government, whether you're a child, whether you're a male, female, LGBTQ plus, it doesn't really matter. I've done it, and I'm like, the simplicity of it is so hard to surrender to. Which took me some time to surrender to the simplicity of the solution. Because you always think you're kind of like fed this narrative of how it is we should all feel like victims, and like this is such a huge problem. Like the sky is falling, everybody.
Yeah.
Like, man, mental health. Because whenever I talk to a lot of people, they're like, oh, we're so glad you do what you do. You're doing such a great job. Like it's it's very needed. Fuck, if I have to hear that again. Like, can it?
Yeah.
It is what it is. You know, it's no different. With the work that I'm doing shouldn't be praised more than the work that a dance teacher is doing, because they're still gathering in community. They're still connecting with individuals. Movement is a form of therapy, but we don't have to necessarily look at it as like if I don't need therapy, because then if I need therapy, then I'm sick. Something's wrong with me. It's no, guys. Like this isn't.
It's not one like no.
There is such a heavy stigma around therapy, and it's like admitting that you're broken or you're factory faulty, and
it's like the politics of it all. I want to see the politics be removed from it, because like the philosophy I have is like, I believe a probiotic in the belly of our culture, right? Like I want to be able to help influence it and kind of turn it in a way where people feel inspired, where they realize, no, this is just a part of life. And if I can start to do this, then I can start to find purpose again in my life. I can ease this anxiety, this anger, this resentment, this kind of hollow feeling I have of not knowing who I want to become, or trying to be the person who I used to be, or trying to kind of deal with this pain that I feel for my family and my friends who are going through some really hard times. I mean, like, guys, we can do this in a different way. We can do this where, you know, why would you want, like, it doesn't make sense to put out fire with more fire.
Exactly.
Right? So if you're saying that there's a big mental health fire in the minds of so many people, then our message is going to be like more fire. Like it's going to be very fire. Like, guys, we have to do something now. Like, oh my God. Like, I've been in the psych ward. These kids are dying and this is happening over here. It's like, just
take it down.
Simmer down. Like,
go do some breath work. We're good. We'll recruit.
We can have fun. We can legit have fun with this. Right? Like, and people talk about being a lifestyle, like, and then you have people that, you know, they get into debates about this doesn't work, that doesn't work, this is the study, that's the study. Just shut up.
Because even if it is placebo, if it works, it works.
If it works, it works. Your recipe is going to be so unique. Again, I can't sell you that. I'll never sell you that. And that's why I took the long route. I felt like I could have gone so many different ways with all these public speaking opportunities, and I started to meet so many people within like the nonprofit world, and like some of you nonprofits need to just stop. Some of you people that are in these corporations need to stop. You independent individuals need to stop, because I don't align with your philosophy, and if you don't align with that philosophy, I promise you it is not going to be something that's sustainable for that individual, regardless of what you're doing, because then they're going to want more. Then they're gonna get to a point where like maybe you're like rolling the dice and they get very lucky. Somebody gets very lucky, right? And you sell them on like this one herb, and it cures all their fucking problems. Right? You're gonna, and that's one out of like a million people that happens for. There's a different way, and you can still make money. You can still generate income, but if you do it in a wholesome manner, like I want to be fucking Danny Tanner, even though I'm swearing, I'm like, I want to be Danny Tanner, man. I want to be very wholesome with this. Like you don't have to force, you don't have to push, but you must take action. And there's the middle ground. Medium is like my religion. If I'm gonna claim any religion, right in the middle. The medium. You don't want to force everybody. You don't want to scare them, and you also don't want to just sit there and let it just ignore it. Right? You want to do something about it. So we do that together. You know, for our culture, especially in the aftermath of COVID, you're not gonna really see the full effects of it probably for a couple of years
until everyone gets back used to being in a group setting.
So that's what I'm always preparing for. That's why I'm continuing to do the group work, is because I know now I can have a little bit of foresight the older I get, and I have a sense of responsibility. It's like, you know, it's like, and once I got through it all, like the hell of it all, if my friends and family aren't, you know, where they want to be mentally and emotionally, then that's okay. I'll stand with you. And it's like, what else is there to do? It's like, you know, years ago, I remember working with so many entrepreneurs, and the heart of an entrepreneur, the spirit of them, is something that's truly inspirational. And you work with so many entrepreneurs, and they like have this purpose because they want to feel a sense of worth. They want to feel like they're doing something with their time. They want that those accolades, the accreditations, and everybody has they're all coming at it with the same energy of, why they want to do it. It's the what is always kind of different, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, where we are now, can we all kind of collectively be like, maybe we just have one common goal together? Maybe we just do this together. Maybe it's not about like, you're going to be the top person, or you're going to be the top religion, or you're going to be the top science, or you're going to be the top influencer. Like, maybe we can just do it together.
Yeah.
Well, especially because the world is so divided right now in every aspect, where it's like, can we just have one common goal where no one just like goes at each other's throats for it? Like, can we get
back to like the issue at hand?
Yeah, right?
Like
there are bigger things out there than
well, it's like, so we have a lot of forest fires going on, but we have a lot of inner fires. People are now experiencing, I want to brag, I'm like, you little noobs with your madness and your anger. I'm like, just relax.
Literally. Just calm down.
Like I see it on that side, and I never lose hope for people that feel depressed or suicidal. I'm like, no, I'm not fazed by it.
Oh yeah.
Like a lot of people are like, you can feel it's easy to feel afraid that this is happening to yourself or a loved one. But when you realize that holding on to that hope is what people are going to resonate with before you even speak, like your body language is going to say more to them than what you're going to say. So be prepared to be internally check yourself before you wreck somebody else, right? Because like you could say all the things in the world, but if they don't believe you're embodying what you're saying, you're not going to reach them.
As Michaela says, words don't mean shit.
Words don't, very eloquently put.
I think so.
Very
that'll be engraved on some building somewhere.
Words don't mean shit. Start a campaign, words don't mean shit campaign.
Literally,
words don't mean shit.
Because they don't unless there are actions to back it up, right? Like was it pictures worth 1,000 words or whatever?
Yeah.
Pictures say 1,000 words. Your actions
speak louder than those 1,000 words.
Yeah. It's just like, you need to back it up. If that's what you believe, then show me.
Yeah. And then, so I have so much hope because if that's what I believe in, I see it everywhere. Right? Awareness is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Or it can be your freaking worst nightmare.
It can be a panic attack causer, or it is freeing.
Yeah. Because if you start to speak this message of hope, right? And then you're going to start to kind of align with others who speak that message of hope. And they're saying the same thing. And then you can hold space for the kids. When you see it from the youth to the elderly, man, you do it for I feel like Maud Flanders from The Simpsons. It's like, somebody think of the children. Won't somebody think of the children, man? I always thought that. I'm like, I'm Maud Flanders, dude.
I like that.
Literally though, we don't recognize the effect that even COVID is gonna have on the kids who grew up in that. Like we don't know. We went through this giant life-changing event that we've never seen the outcome for, and it could be something that's so like not debilitating but upsetting. I lost my whole thought.
Debilitating if it's not processed properly, right?
Yeah. Even the children, that after the effects of, so we as the adults, they're trying, we remember talking about mirroring each other's nervous systems. They're mimicking the opinions and the thoughts and the emotions and the feelings of everybody around them, their parents, their community, their teachers. Everybody's just strung out emotionally. And then, so what about the kids? Like, where's their sense of safety and security? So then what are you going to see happen in years from now, when now they're going to have to kind of realize, like, why is all this going bad in my life? It's like, well, there's an origin story to that. There's an origin story of why that's happening to you. We can prevent a lot of that together if we collectively take a little bit of ownership. And let's turn off the TV. Don't worry about the politics, left, right, center, diagonal. I don't give a shit. Because at the end of the day, you can focus and externalize the world, and this is happening over here, that's happening over here, this group's fighting with that group, this right is more important than that right. It's, guys, mental health and money It's the economy is suffering. The minds are suffering. That's all I see. It's like, how is anything going to be affordable? There's not going to be a middle class, and the minds are getting just getting thrown into the flames of despair. Like, so it doesn't make sense for me to. That's why when people talk about all these other things, I'm like, I don't really have an opinion because I'm not really paying attention to that.
Yeah.
Because it all ends and begins in the mind.
Yeah.
So if I can focus on the mind. That's my view too when it comes to the environment. It's like, that's cool, but what if we help empower the minds of everybody so that they're not really polluting anymore? That they do want to take care of the planet instead of yelling at them that they're not.
Well, you're fear-mongering.
You're fear-mongering.
Like, there's only so far you can get with the fear basis.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and it's never good.
It's never good. And even like, it's like, even like, I took me a while to come into the middle. It's just like, you don't have to be a freedom fighter. I get it. The government's corrupt. Let's come and create now. Stop sharing memes about sheep. And then the fucking other side, it's like, stop fucking calling them fucking lunatics and like tinfoil hat wearers. Like, well, you guys are fucking children.
Yeah.
Like, on either side. And they got adults like just sharing memes and people liking it, like fucking making fun of the other side. And like, oh yeah, fucking good job.
It's like, what does that achieve? Like, who took the time out of the day to make that meme and then share it on whatever, and then someone else is like, oh, that's high quality humor, share it again. It's like, you're polluting everything.
It is pollution.
Right?
That's
like,
beautiful way to put it. That is such pollution. You want to fight the environment. What about the mental environment, the mental climate, right?
Yeah.
You're creating a mental climate with all this pollution of like, I'm
Toxic waste.
I'm one up in you.
Yeah.
Guys, did you know that this freaking person, that person? But I get it. If you don't know what to do and where to channel that energy, find and study, or not study, just research a local organization. Go help fucking your community.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay? Don't worry about this country, that country, this country. What about your neighbors? You see them the most, and the more empowered community can help more countries abroad when we can empower each other. So rather than focus on all that external noise, and then this is for the adults, right? So it's like, okay, we didn't have an opportunity to work on our emotional maturity in our school system. I get it. We didn't have that in our school system. We get it. You've said it a million times. But now where are we? Let's work on that together. And if you see an issue within your community, I'm taking mental health and within the economy, go shop local, go work with, go inspire yourself or someone to start their own business, their own podcast, start to create with the mental health. Go take a look at other initiatives within your community. Go and find out what they're doing. Take a look at all the resources. Instead of saying something's wrong, do you know the numbers for the suicide links? Do you know what's local in your area? If don't, just shut up. I'm sorry I get angry. I'm just like, I've done this for so long. I get to the point like you're just fucking running into a wall. Like, just stop talking about it and just do something. Equip yourselves with a little bit of knowledge as to if there is an issue, what kind of information can you pass along? Maybe you start your own thing. Maybe you align with an organization that you feel shares similar values with you, but do something. That's where I'm at right now.
And so what is next for you? What is your next, where do you see the future going?
So the future is the mental health group training program. So that I will be facilitating probably just before April. I'm doing some group work in the fall. And then speaking and spreading this message. So speaking, doing some public speaking. I still do my one-on-ones, which I love because I like the blend of the one-on-one and the group work. And then spreading this message and collaborating and connecting with like-minded individuals who will want to meet in the middle and work together and empower and inspire each other to continue to take action and do it in a way where we are, with a little bit of class. Like, let's not be fucking sleazy sales professionals. Let's be classy about it. Let's put a little bit of, let's have a little bit of fun with this.
Exactly.
For sure. I love that. Well, thank you for sharing your story with us.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
You are welcome on anytime. An annual Vick catch up.
Really?
What's going on now? What did you try? So I guess before we wrap up, we have a quick little segment for you. So we're going to do a smash or pass segment. And the topic is wellness items, things like that.
Cool.
So smash, you're here for it. Pass, nah, not here for it. So the first one is sound baths. Smash. Okay,
but not every sound bath is the same. If you're working with practitioners, interview them a little bit. Right?
For sure. Meditation.
Smash the shit out of that. Fucking Monday through Sunday.
Smash it so hard.
Smash it with my eyes closed, literally.
Smash that.
Journaling.
Smash. House. It's like your emotions and you and yourself. You speak like a different language that you have to learn. So how are you going to learn that language without any kind of reflection? Journaling, fucking hell of a way to start to learn the language of you.
Yeah.
Perfect. Cold plunges.
Smash.
Yeah.
Smash it. Smash it. In my top 3 of practices to feel an immediate result. Right? If you want to feel an immediate result, get in the cold.
It's a rush for sure.
Yeah.
Removing negative people from your life.
Depends. Varies. I'm not like one of those people where it's just like you are who you surround yourself with. So if there's 6 people around you and they're like toxic, go find a new clique. I'm like, well, maybe you're the one who's supposed to inspire the rest of them. Right? So I don't like that kind of, I wouldn't abandon my friends or anybody. So I'm kind of like in the middle.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you guys are selling drugs, just bounce.
Yeah.
If you guys are like in a cult, like just bounce.
Yeah.
If you're in a shitty clique where it's just like just bounce. If it's not your friends and your family, just give everybody a little bit of grace. Sometimes people lose their way.
Yeah, definitely. Getting 8 hours of sleep.
I smash that. So the only thing I'll sell, if I sell anything, I mean, I'm not going to make any money. It's free. Sleep, water, sunlight, breathe, oxygen. That's it. Photosynthesis. We're like plants.
Yeah.
Right?
Grounding.
Grounding, I would smash that because it's fun. We did it as children. And it does feel good to put your feet on the earth, regardless of what your take on grounding is. Right? So even if it's placebo, I can take your shoes off.
Yeah, definitely. Fasting.
Fasting, smash the shit out of fasting.
Yeah.
So your digestive system is like a factory that's working 24/7. Sometimes it's working nonstop for years. Give that shit a break so it can run better. Like, give it a day off, man.
Turn it off and back on again.
Turn it on and back off. System refresh.
Yeah.
That's it.
Exactly. Shadow work.
Shadow work. So you don't necessarily need to do shadow work. I highly believe in shadow work. I would smash it for myself because it's a tool that I found effective for me based on the series of events that occurred in my life to go into the darkness of my emotions. Some people had, based on their upbringing or their circumstances, they never had to feel those extremes. So it's really kind of it's dependent on the individual. But I believe in it, especially if you've had like a trouble understanding your emotions. I would highly recommend shadow work.
Perfect. And our last one is essential oils.
Essential oils. Scent is the strongest sense tied to memory. Smash. Right? So you were talking about environmental cues and triggers that keep you in this like the same state, the same habitual state, day in and day out. Well, work with your 5 senses. Kind of invite some newness into your life with your 5 senses. And if we're talking about the sense of smell, start to bring in scents and experiment with scents that make you feel grounded, energized, calm, relaxed, and do that on the regular. It's like I look at it like it's energetic maintenance, right? So do that on the regular. So definitely. Smash it. Pretty much smash it all.
That's good. Perfect.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So where can our listeners find you? Share.
You can find me on Instagram. I am on Twitter, and if you just look up Vick Maan, VickMaan, you'll be able to find me.
Perfect. Yeah, and we'll have you linked in the description. And why not? Do you want us to link mental wealth as well?
It's all on my website.
Well,
so if you
perfect.
go to vickman.com, you'll see it all.
Perfect. We'll add you to the description. As for us, I'm Mak Joy.
I'm Mak Jubes.
We are Sometimes Ciabatta Labs on all social media platforms. You can find our website, sometimesciabattalabs.com, which has links to all of our episodes, video and audio. On our website, you can find our book club reviews, what we're reading this month, next month, in the past, etc., etc. And there are links to those books as well. And finally, our affiliate links. We have some affiliate links up there, so if you want to go check them out, home cleaning goods or coffee or Dyson
camping
stuff.
things.
Yeah, some camping stuff now. It's really fun.
I know, we've kind of popped off.
Yeah, it's been really good. But yeah, big thank you to Vic for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a great chatting with you, and yeah, we hope to have you on again at some point in the future.
Sounds good. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome.
Perfect.
All
Okay,
right.
bye guys.
Bye.